Time now for the final race in the 1998 O'Brien Aluminium Sports Sedan Championship, a 10-lap journey that sees the top 10 grid positions in reverse order. That means that your pole sitter is number 10, Bill Martin in the Mazda RX-7, and alongside of him, number 9, Joseph Say in the Fiat 124 Coupe.
Barry Jamieson comes from free alongside Barry is Peter O'Brien.
On the third row of the grid, it's Ivan Mickak and Mick Monterosso.
Then it's Kerry Bailey and Des Wall.
We're in the starter's hands now as the green flag is flying at the back of the field. Wait for the light to go. Will O'Brien be able to capitalise on that outside starting position from row 2? Look at him get the rubber down to the ground nice and early. And the front row of the grid was certainly faltering as Peter O'Brien it is in the O'Brien Aluminium Commodore that leads the field down momentarily into turn 1. Will he maintain that racing pace? Yes, indeed he does. Slotting himself up into second as Mick Monterosso getting a bit of a tap from Bill Martin as that's Des Wall going off the circuit in rather an odd-looking angle.
Yeah, Des Wall's turned off to the outside of the circuit, so he's got some problems straight away. Look at Ricciardello charge through the field. He is got to get this one in the bag to take the championship, and he is flying hard. But Peter O'Brien, what a sensational drive from him. Boy, that's a sight he'd love to see. A clear windscreen out in front of him.
Yes, something that he hasn't had the luxury of throughout the year, or indeed the last 18 months in developing this Commodore. He managed to qualify up into the top 10 for the first time this season, and he's certainly enjoying the luxury of a clear racetrack out in front of him.
We've got to remember here that the top 10 cars were reversed around, and after one lap, we've got the guys that came from the rear in second and third. Peter O'Brien leads it, then it's Mick Monterosso and Tony Ricciardello. These are the two that were battling for the championship. Monterosso from South Australia on board now with Peter O'Brien. Look at that, no one in front. He is out in front. All problems there for Stephen Voigt, the pro, just going off the circuit, so that's bad luck for him. But yeah, a great drive from Peter O'Brien. He will be just saying to himself, keep it together, concentrate, you can do it.
This will certainly test the intestinal fortitude of Peter O'Brien, out to say the very least. Well, he does the gentlemanly thing. He moves to the outside of the circuit there, opens up the door nice and widely for now our new race lead, although he must have cut off Tony Ricciardello there in no uncertain terms. There was nothing too gentlemanly about that, as Mick Monterosso has certainly got the race lead. And I tell you what, Ricciardello wouldn't like that too much, because he's now got a big gap between he and the nearest contender to him in the championship that leads the race by about 4 or 5, make that 6 car lengths as they head through O'Brien Aluminium Dogleg.
I think the problem for Peter O'Brien here is that the car is probably down on a little bit of horsepower compared to Monterosso and Ricciardello. Let's see now as they come into the straight. This is all horsepower. The straight line speed is all about horsepower. Just look at Ricciardello wind him up. 650 horsepower in that Alpha. Kerry Bailey looks like he wanted to come down the inside as well. Did he make it through? Yes, Peter O'Brien tried to come across, but as you say, gentleman move there, just let him through. This is not my championship battle. I'll sit back and watch them.
Yeah, it's only his family's money that's going out the window, to say the very least. The O'Brien Aluminium Australian Sports Sedan Championship, and this is what it's all about for the O'Brien family. It is really a family affair, as we heard in our earlier interview with Ron O'Brien. He brings the whole family along. He doesn't mind spending his money in their chosen form of motorsport. And I tell you what, his son's doing pretty darn good at the moment, up in there in 4th place. But your race leader, Mick Monterosso, has now got all sorts of trouble as looming up larger than life in the braking area at the end of the main straight into turn number 1 is the man that is likely to be the championship victor, and that is young Tony Ricciardello from Western Australia. Look at the way that Alfetta is moving. It's ducking from left and right, twitching under power, and then ducking down in the nose very heavily under brakes.
Yes, Tony really wants to take this championship. He's won the West Australian Sports Sedan Championship. The car has won an Australian Championship with Brian Smith doing the driving duties, but he wants to win this one for his father. It's his first season. He wants to do the duty. Just look how tight the top 3 competitors are. We've got South Australia, Western Australia, and Queensland battling it out. Big variety of cars, big variety of states. It just shows what a great season 1998 has been for the O'Brien Aluminium Sports Sedan. Well,
the Basil Ricciardello developed car has previously won the Australian Sports Sedan Championship, but I think there would be no sweeter victory than seeing his young 19-year-old son piloting this Alfetta across the line first and taking away the championship for 1998. It may even encourage the sports sedan drivers to travel all the way across Western Australia for a championship round in 1999. As we're now on board with Peter O'Brien, and we can see that Jamieson has made his way up into 4th and thus relegated Peter O'Brien 1 further back in the field to 5th.
Well, he's had a great job, a great drive, and led this for a little while. As Ricciardello has a look around the outside, just have a look at this sensational dice going on for the top spot. 3 cars not separated by anything at all. Monterosso powers out of the corner. Ricciardello closes tight in on his tail, and Monterosso's actually got some damage to the rear of that car. He got that from the first lap, so he's obviously had some close contact with someone earlier on.
It's very interesting to note the front 3 runners at the moment. You've got a former Australian champion, a champion-elect, and the current Australian champion until the end of this race in the front 3 runners. Keep yourself, this is pretty close stuff. And I tell you what, each and every one of these drivers are certainly acquitting themselves well here amongst the conditions offered on our Oran Park South circuit at the moment. I stutter as we see Ricciardello again trying to go to the outside, and he's got to be very careful because you could find that Kerry Bailey will just seize that opportunity and leave his braking just a little bit later than he normally would, and it could well put Ricciardello out to dry on the outside of the circuit.
Monterosso's car is absolutely sensational on the brakes, and it's safe to say that Ricciardello's got a mile of horsepower. Look at him pull out of the corner. Bailey, as you say, sitting back there, almost praying that something comes to the grief between these two, and look how close the racing is. This is sensational. 19-year-old in the middle, and there is absolutely no replacement for pure young guts. He's got plenty of it, but combined with the ability to drive this race car, he's a true champion.
Again, he goes to the outside. Kerry Bailey follows him right to the right-hand side of turn number 1. He'll swoop across and kiss the apex on turn 2 and try and get a nice smooth running. 1, 2 and 3 virtually on screen. You could throw the proverbial blanket over the front of them at the moment. Monterosso in car number 2, Ricciardello in 15, and Bailey in car number 1 just behind him, as we're on board now with Peter O'Brien heading out of the Shell super corner and onto the straight that leads down to the O'Brien aluminium dogleg, which is an area where our front 3 runners have been at it hammer and tong for the majority of these closing stages. 1 more lap to go. Will the young champion-elect be able to overtake Mick Monterosso and take a victory not only in the Australian Championship but also in this final race on the program for them?
Well, what a last race for the year. It has been absolutely incredible. What can it produce? Ricciardello for a move round the outside. This is a tight corner. Can he do it? Looks like he's got the edge. No, sits back on the inside of Mick Monterosso. The escort very taily. Can Ricciardello do anything? Not a lot of corners look to run. Look at the drive out of the turn. Will he take it for this next right-hander? Yes, he does, Lance. He gets through. But I think the car's run wide. It's out in the dirt. Boy, what a wild drive. And he's still in front. Look at the tail out.
And sideways as he comes around to greet the checkered flag and take a great championship victory in 1998. Young Tony Ricciardello from Western Australia defeats Mick Monterosso in 2nd place, and 3rd place goes to Kerry Bailey. You couldn't ask for much better sports sedan racing than that, Nathan.
That kid sure can drive.
What does it really mean to Tony Ricciardello to take out the championship this year? So young, with so much ahead of yourself.
Oh, it means a big deal. Really, I like to thank my dad. I've done it for my dad because, you know, he's won it before with Brian Smith driving the car, but I just done it for him, and hopefully I can help him along by getting sponsors for the car and helping him pay for all the costs during the year. So.